A Nation Divided. The 5 things you should know about the Civil War on its 150th anniversary. When the Civil War began in the United States on April 12, 1861, it was the start of a dark chapter in the nation's history. Next month, people across the U.S. will commemorate the 150th anniversary of the start of the war. During the next 4 years, you'll be hearing a lot about the Civil War. Here are 5 things you need to know about the war between the states. 1. America was divided over slavery. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected the 16th president. At that time, the U.S. had 33 states. Americans disagreed on many issues, but the biggest was slavery. In most northern states, slavery had already been abolished. But in the South, wealthy landowners still relied on black slaves to work on their plantations or large farms. Southern states feared that Lincoln would try to abolish slavery in the South. After Lincoln was elected, 11 Southern states seceded or broke away from the U.S., called the Union. These 11 states formed a new country, the Confederate States of America, or the Confederacy. Jefferson Davis. Words to know. Abolished, pronounced abolished, is a verb. It means ended officially. Assassinated, assassinated, is a verb. It means murdered because of his or her importance or political beliefs. 2. Lincoln wasn't the only president at the time. If you had lived in Georgia, Virginia, or any of the southern states that seceded, you would have been living in a different country. In February 1861, Jefferson Davis was elected president of the newly formed Confederate States of America. The Confederate government had its own capital in Richmond, Virginia. The Confederacy also had its own flag, army, and even its own money. Abraham Lincoln. 3. The Civil War was the deadliest war in U.S. history. The first shots of the Civil War were fired on April 12, 1861. Confederate troops attacked a Union military base at Fort Sumter, South Carolina. For the next 4 years, both sides fought hard in many bloody battles. In all, about 620,000 Americans lost their lives. Family members sometimes found themselves fighting on opposite sides of battles. 4. Lincoln's main goal was to keep the country together. Lincoln was against slavery, but he believed his first duty as president was to hold the nation together, even if that meant going to war. But as the war went on, Lincoln's message changed. On January 1st, 1863, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. It freed slaves in Confederate states and made ending slavery another main goal of the war. Many former slaves from southern states later fought for the Union. 5. The country faced a long road to recovery. The Confederacy surrendered in April 1865. The United States was once again one nation, but the recovery was long and difficult. Lincoln was assassinated just days after the war ended. The South was left in ruins and needed years to rebuild. Following the war, the U.S. Constitution was changed to end slavery and protect the rights of all African Americans. Even with these new protections, African Americans continued to struggle for true equality well into the 20th century.